I'm Magen, and my family and I have been coming to Redeemer now for 8 years. I grew up in a home that was geared way more towards works and performance, and love was generally attached to that. And so it was almost a belief that God's love was based on what I did. And so I grew up in the church, but it was kind of this skewed view of the gospel. I had never asked questions like that before, but it was because I didn't feel safe asking them. To question God to me was basically like showing that I didn't believe. It was showing that I didn't have faith, and I was scared to ever show that I didn't have faith. Last year, against the backdrop of everything just being out of control, I personally had a spiritual mentor who just lived a total double standard, very contrary to the gospel. Somebody who had meant so much to me for so long, and they had poured so much into me and know so much about the Bible, and yet their life was just a total contradiction to what they had taught me. And it caused me to just ask these questions about who is actually God? What is the gospel? How does it transform not just our minds, but our hearts and our lives? And it made me wrestle with these things like I've never had to wrestle before. For the first time, I doubted that I was God's child. I thought, if that man can know that much about God and not live a life that is changed by it, am I any different? I remember every day I was just thumbing through the Bible. I was like, God, like, if you're real. I shouldn't even say that, because it wasn't a question of if he was real. I knew he was real. It was, did he love me? So questions were never welcomed in my home, and I never asked these kind of questions. I wasn't safe to ask these kind of questions. But I realize that God welcomes it, and that's part of the beauty of who he is he wants those, because when we bring our questions, he is so sure and so steady. His foundation is not shaken by our questions. He can handle them all. And it just gives you so much more assurance in that as well. It's been this process for me, though, of coming from this mindset of perfectionism and works, and I've got to earn God's favor, into kind of sitting in my own mess. And it has forced me to remember what my hope is in, and my hope is in truth. And when that truth of the gospel radiates through me, then the pressure falls off. And it's not about my performance, and it's not about I've got to do everything right, or I've got to present my best self all the time. I get to just be me, knowing that Jesus has seen me and loved me and set his love on me, invited me in when I have been such a disaster and a mess and far from perfect. And he's invited me in and called me his own. That's the hope of the gospel.